I'm John Martin and welcome to another Purple Mini YouTube video. After releasing the car build YouTube video a couple of months ago, link up here, I thought it might be interesting to turn the footage of my first track day into something YouTubeable. So in this video, I'll tell you about what it was like to do my first ever track day at the 2018 Lotus 7 Club's novice event. I'll also give you a narrated lap of the circuit, along with a flying lap recorded later in the day when I'd got a bit of speed up. If you want more info on the car, then that build video is the place to go. Track days were one of my big goals when building the car. So from early on, I'd been eyeing the novice track days run by the Lotus 7 Club as a must-do item. The novice track day concept is probably pretty self-explanatory, but it's a way of dipping your toe into the track day world whilst having your metaphorical handheld. You get detailed information about everything that will happen on the day, as well as experienced track instruction, all built into the price. I've attended a few organised circuit days in the past and have karted a bit, but doing a track day with a car I built sounded quite daunting, especially one that had only been on the road for a few months and only had 1,000 miles under its wheels. So a novice's day made a lot of sense to get me and the car up to speed. Once I was signed up and the fee paid, my first track day was going to be at Rockingham Speedway on the outskirts of Corby. Rockingham Circuit was purposely built to host the UK version of the US NASCAR series, but it also had 13 different track configurations that could be used for different types of racing. The outer circuit was a classic simple NASCAR bank circuit, but there were additional racetracks laid down in the centre of the ring to allow for other racing and of course track days. We'd be driving the 2.74 kilometre national circuit. You'll notice that I've talked about the circuit in the past tense. Ultimately, from what I can tell, the lack of NASCAR and the size of the circuit led to its demise. It became unviable and was shut down in 2018 after 17 years of use. If you want more info on the circuit, then Wikipedia still has a page on its history, and I've put a link to that in the page description below. So with the circuit shut, this video is really a guide to what to expect on a novice day and what it's like to do a track day for the first time. In any case, it was a great venue for a novice's track day, and this is what happened. It was an early start, up and out by 7 to get to the circuit by 8. Caterhams aren't the quietest of cars, so I rolled it off my parents' drive before starting it up for a quick getaway. Once at the circuit, I had a quick wander around. But the first job of the day was to get a noise test. The club provides detailed instructions, an itinerary and also a running order, so I already knew to get a noise test before the briefing started. All cars have to pass a static noise test before they can go out on track. I seem to remember we recorded 95 dB with a max of 105 allowed that day. Noise limits can change at some circuits, so it's worth making sure you know what the limit is for your day. Cars like our 420 are usually fine with that sort of limit, but the more bonkers, supercharged 620s may need a rear exit exhaust to get under the 105 dB we had to play with. Next up was a safety briefing. This was mandatory and was a mixture of good humour and stern talking tos about safety.
For me, it's a club day, it's going to be a happy day. You've got lots of friends out there, lots of cups of coffee going round.
Then came a rundown of the flags and circuit etiquette.
If you see the red lights on the red flags, that is much more serious. It could be you upside down on fire, God forbid. If it were, I'm sure you'd want us to get to you pretty damn quickly, yes?
The whole day is absolutely not a race day, and timing equipment is not allowed. Passing was by consent and strictly to the left of the person you're passing, with a hand in the air from the car in front being the signal that they were letting you pass. Indicators are not allowed to show someone can pass, as it's way too easy to leave your indicators on in any car, let alone a Caterham, especially with a helmet on. For the uninitiated, Caterhams don't have automatically cancelling indicators and beep at you to remind you they're on. So sticking your hand up and out of an open-top car is a very definitive indication that you are letting someone pass. No ambiguity there. Once the briefings were over, we could start to think about getting onto the track. We were organised into groups of 9 for each of the morning sessions. The first session involved a few low-speed sighting laps, followed by a session of ducks and drakes. Then for the rest of the morning, it was timetabled instructor sessions. After lunch, the format allowed much freer access to the track, with additional bookable instructor slots. The club had also made space available in the day for more experienced track users, and it seemed that many were using the day as a chance to test their cars for the upcoming race seasons. Pros and novices were kept apart during the day until mid-afternoon, so there was no fear of a much faster racer coming up behind you and scaring the life out of you as you got to know the thresholds of the circuit, your car and you. The benefit was also reciprocal and meant the pros weren't held back by any novice shenanigans. The ducks and drakes concept might need some explaining. The idea is that cars go out for low-speed circuits in groups of 9 or so, with an instructor sat next to the driver of every third or fourth car. The instructor tells the driver the line, braking points and turning points that will be used at higher speeds. Everyone in the line of cars follows the instructed cars and so will learn the right line. Once the ducks and drakes sessions are over, then the group you are allocated to goes out for successively quicker sessions with instructors rotating through the cars giving advice. I found the ducks and drakes really useful. It's tempting to think you're Lewis Hamilton and don't need this sort of mollycoddling, but in reality the pros use tons of instruction, and that means I probably should too. The format of a novice day allows you to pay a little extra for additional drivers and/or passengers. We didn't opt for any additional drivers, but I did take both my father and one of my sons out on most of the sessions. Both enjoyed the experience, but with a few more miles under the car's wheels, I'd have been looking for both of them to be able to have had a go behind the wheel as well. Here I am with Harry in the passenger seat waiting in a queue to get onto the track. One minor point about making videos like this. If you sling the camera below the rollover bar like here, you need to be careful about sightlines, but it's usually best to place the camera above the bar, more like this. You get a better view of the track and the other cars around. Personally, I like to have a 360 camera on top of the rollover bar, but that's a lot more work to make a video and probably the subject of a whole YouTube video in itself. In the morning, track access was governed by which coloured group you were assigned to, while in the afternoon you just joined the back of a queue to get onto the track and waited in turn whenever you felt like a go. Here's a lap following another car, but with the racing line, as I remember it, explained. Out of the pits or coming down School Straight, you hit Brook as the first corner. Brake in a straight line before the corner, turn in, hit the apex and then power out. Stay 3/4 of the way over to the left of the track and full power in fourth as you take right-hander before Gretton. Brake into the Gretton chicane, turn in, brake some more while heading straight across the chicane, followed by full power down to the next corner. Too much speed and you risk running wide on the exit. Weldon and Dean need approaching as one corner. You turn late into Weldon, keeping further over to the left away from the apex and carry your line through Dean with the accelerator as flat as you dare. Yentwood is a third gear, hard right-hander. Brake straight, down from third to fourth, turn in and power out. Then up the slight rise and round Chapman in third, with me taking a dab of the brakes on entry into Chapman. Try to stay right as you exit Chapman, ready for Piff Path, which was a slight lift entry in third. As you exit Piff Path, stay wide as you aim for the outside of the track. Then, as you turn into the double apex Rockingham curve, you aim for the first apex and stay wide of the second. There's a long run up Steel Straight, where you grab fourth and head for Gracelands. For me in a 420, I dab the brakes on entry to Gracelands, and then almost full throttle through the corner, letting the car run wide and almost off the track on exit. Then full throttle down to Tarzan, and hard on the brakes in a straight line before turning into the corner. Tarzan was great if you got it right, but many people span on the exit. I got a little sideways a couple of times, but managed to catch the spin before it happened. And then full throttle down School Straight to do it all over again, or stick your hand in the air and head into the pits just after Tarzan.
Is that right?
Once the morning was over, we all had lunch in one of the grandstand cafes. Then it was time for a quick PR shot of all the cars in the paddock for the club magazine. As the day wore on, everyone got faster, but more and more tired. Everyone I talked to was having a real blast and was grinning from ear to ear. After lunch, I started getting into the groove a bit more on the track, and lap times were getting faster. Here's a flying lap of the circuit. Top speed was achieved on the straight leading up to Yentwood and was 100-ish miles per hour, I think. The track thinned out later in the sessions, so mid to late afternoon was a great time to take the car out for a clear lap. I soon ran out of energy, and that was that. I headed off home before the traffic started to pick up again on the roads. For club members, I also did an article that was published in a 2020 edition of Low Flying, all about what it's like to be a nervous novice on a track. So, what are my takeaways? Well, the Lotus 7 Club certainly puts on a great Novices Trackday. Couldn't have asked for anything more as a novice. Secondly, Caterhams are very capable track machines, even the ones that I've put together. Thirdly, I liked the fact that the day was a single mark day. It meant that everyone was mostly of a similar mind and that the cars were equally matched on the circuit. And as such, I'll be signing up for more club organised track days just as soon as I can. Finally, I realised that I really enjoyed track days. Unfortunately, Rockingham Circuit is now closed, but the club holds novice track days each year. In 2019 it was held at Castle Combe, which I also attended and had a great time, but didn't take any video of that, I'm afraid. Track days were one of the many things that got disrupted in 2020, and so there was no dedicated Novices Day for the club. The club's track days at Castle Combe, Cadwell Park, Snetterton, Croft and Anglesey are all appropriate for novices, with one of them typically being used each year as a Novices Day. The UK has some fantastic tracks, but I'm hoping to make it to Anglesey in 2021 as it's a real bucket list track for me. Looks fantastic. That's all for this video. If you have any questions, then please leave them in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, then please like, subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications of new videos. Stay safe and happy blatting.